Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where I'm working with you step by step through each of the ABRSM Theory Grades. There are lots of resources available to help you on my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets and you can download those in US letter or A4 and they accompany each step of this series. You'll find a page there with links to all of my YouTube video tutorials. And you can also access information about the books that I have available. I've written an exam technique guide, how to take your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's full of tips and hints on how to best prepare for your exam and also how to make the best use of your time on exam day when you're actually working through your exam paper. So if you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find it's all there. If you can give me a like, that would be really super, and please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. I have lots more in store. And now we're going to continue with the last question of this Grade 1 2014 Paper A. So if you turn with me to page 5, and we'll have a look at question 8. And so all of the questions are going to be relating back to this little melody here. Now the first set of questions is an example of how the syllabus is the same, but the presentation of the questions has changed. You still need to know all of the performance terms and musical directions that were given to you in your music theory and practice workbook. However, now they're going to be presented to you as a multiple choice option, whereas in these older papers you have to write out the full definition. I'm not sure that multiple choice makes it any easier. It's very easy to get confused by a bit of a red herring. And I would go on and just give these their full definitions because it's a really good revision opportunity. So moderato is our tempo direction and it tells us to play at a moderate speed. So there's nothing for it but just to give these a good bit of revision. And if you haven't done so already, press pause and just test yourself and then we'll check through them together. Don't just work through it as I go. Have a go beforehand. It's much better to learn by your mistakes that way. And so we'll carry on and give these their definitions to check through those answers. MF is short for mezzo forte, which means moderately loud. That's our dynamic marking. Here's another dynamic marking. This is short for diminuendo, and this would be the sign that represents that word. And what that means is gradually getting quieter. And you can see visually how that works, and that's a diminuendo sign. Gradually getting, so I'm just doing a bit of extra revision as we work through these. So the answer is gradually getting quieter. So the dots below the notes, for example in bar 4, we can see there's some dots below the notes here. Now a dot after a note is a timing issue where it's half as much of the value again. However, when it's underneath a note, that's a staccato marking, and that means to be played detached. So it's a separate detached note. That's the staccato marking, just to do a bit of extra revision there. And then this symbol here, if we see at the end of bar 8, that's a repeat marking. When there are 2, you bounce between the 2 repeat markings. However, when there's no other repeat marking present, you just go right back to the beginning. So that means repeat. And in this case, it specifically means back from the beginning. So although the layout of the paper has changed, it's a really good idea to use these past papers to just test your knowledge in a different way. Let's press on. So the melody is in the key of G major, and we can see we've got a key signature of F sharps. We're asked to give the number of a bar that contains all of the notes of the tonic triad in this key. So before we can look for that, we need to know what we're looking for. Remember, the tonic triad is built up of the first, the third and the fifth degrees of the scale. So if we're in G major, G is the first, of course, A, B is the second, is the third, C, D is the 5th. And if you find that difficult to count, you can always count G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just visualize a piano keyboard. Even if you don't play piano, it's a good idea to just sketch one of these as a visual reference. So we're looking for a bar that's got a G, a B and a D in it, not necessarily in that order. So let's have a look. So we've got a G, every good boy deserves a D. So really we just need a B, and here it is, every good boy. We didn't have to look far at all. Bar 1 gave us that answer straight away. Now we're asked to draw a circle around 2 notes next to each other that are a 5th apart. So let's start at the beginning, and again we can see we've got our answer pretty straight away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, counting from the first. There's our 5th. Now actually, there is another option here, and it's over the bar lines from this D to this A. 1, 3, 5 we can see would be a 5th, so you could choose that one. They are next to each other, it's just hard to spot because you're going over to the next line. Nevertheless, the principle remains. If you've chosen that one, that is still correct, but we find it first of all here, which is an easier way to spot it. So complete this sentence. The upper 4 in this time signature of 4/4 means, well, the top number tells us how many beats per bar, and the bottom number tells us what type of beat. Here this means quarter note or crotchet beats, that's the bottom number. So the top number 4 tells us that there are 4 beats per bar. Let's have a look at this next one. So again, here we have another performance term. And again, in the new 2018 onwards, the new revised exam paper layout, this will be presented to you as a multiple choice, but we can just go on and answer this question because it's good revision. Answer true or false to this sentence. Does poco mean held back? Well, no, it doesn't, so that's false, because poco, let's do a bit of revision, means little, and a word that means held back is ritenuto. And I would group your performance directions and musical words thematically, so that you've got everything to do with slow together, everything to do with fast together, and even colour code it, whatever it takes to just help you to learn that. So ritenuto means held back, and it's sort of similar to ritardando and rallentando, which are gradually getting slower. Ritenuto is a bit more like pulling the reins back though. Here we go, so that's false because ritenuto means held back. So let's look at this next question. Give the letter name of the lowest note in the melody. So we're just looking visually first of all, what's the lowest note? And it's this one, and now we need to name that note. Well, if you're thinking this is E, every good boy does well, E. One below E is D. If you find that difficult to imagine, you can just visualise it on the piano keyboard, and you can double check that because you know middle C is here, so one above middle C is D. So that's a couple of ways of finding that answer. Now there's 10 marks. This is the easiest 10 marks in the whole paper, so just keep your eyes peeled because all you've got to do is copy the music from the start of bar 5. Be careful you copy the correct bit. They're very particular from the start of bar 5 to the end of bar 8. Don't copy the wrong bit and lose those marks. Exactly as it's written. They even give us a checklist. Don't forget the clef, the key signature, the dynamics and everything else that you can see. So marks are given for neatness and accuracy. So here's 10 marks if you can just take your time and copy carefully. And so what I'm going to do, we're copying from bar 5 to the end of bar 8. I'm going to just keep my bar lines aligned with theirs. And that way I'm not going to lose track where I am. I can keep everything aligned and I'm not going to run out of space as well. And I'm not going to get lost and miss something. So I'm going to put that repeat mark in straight away. Now it doesn't matter what order you do this in, so long as you remember to get everything. I tend to do all the preliminary nuts and bolts, get all the bits and bobs in place. So there's my treble clef. I do all this first, and then I'll just do the note heads just so I can space everything without worrying too much about everything else. So now I'm not going to run out of space in a bar. And I'm keeping it pretty much aligned to there so I don't lose track where I am. And I know that my spacing is going to work out. And now I can just put the stems in. But it doesn't matter at all what order you do this in, as long as you get everything neatly in place. So now we need the articulation marks. So we want these slurs in place. We want the staccato markings. Slur, staccato, accent, staccato. Now we need the dynamics. So MP, let's do a bit of revision. MP, mezzo piano, means moderately quiet. Then we've got mezzo forte, which we've already answered, which is moderately loud. And then we've got a crescendo. By all means use a ruler. And then we've got forte, which means loud. And I think that's everything. Yeah, we've got the repeat marking in first as last, so we just didn't forget that. So that's the end of that question, and that's the end of that paper. I do hope that's been helpful to you. I hope it's helping you in your studies. It's a really, really good preparation and revision technique to go through all of these papers. If you can give me a like, that would be really super, and please do subscribe to my channel to keep updated. There's lots more to come. Please do visit sharonbill.com and make use of all of the resource and information that's available to help you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.